Hunting is where food comes from. And one thing the grabblers don't know about is where food comes from, because historically they didn't hunt. What they would do is they would threaten the hunters with shame tactics, slander, lawsuits, or a poisoning of the well to then take a bit of the meat. Grabblers really don't know where food comes from. Hunting is how you get food. She's like, no, you get food from the grocery store. That's where you get your meat. It's so mean. It's so mean to get food from an animal. So I just think it's important that if you have any grabblers in your life, that you educate them as to where food comes from, because they really don't know. See, it's about the spell. You know, like right now, there are spells that I am not allowed to say on YouTube. I mean, I still do, but, and the spell then was that men and women are exactly the same, and now people are getting out of it, which is awesome to see. But, you know, because your anxiety drives from stifled instinct. What I was addressing was that women are different than men. They should be treated different. They should have different lives. They should have different roles in society. They shouldn't. It's not the same. And so I was suppressed because of that. Comedy Central, when I was doing specials for them, were saying not to do certain stuff like this, because the pharmaceutical industry requires women to be out of their minds so that they buy all these drugs so that they can function. And just one guy telling the truth affects that. And if you don't think that the Christian conservative movement in America has been completely compromised, remember Blaze TV? With the devil tail, Glenn Beck, the nickel king. Well, they fired Gavin McInnes because they were just like, he's just too. Okay, you know who they just hired? An atheist Jew married to a man. Rubin Report coming soon to Blaze TV, because nothing says Christian American conservatism like an atheist grabbler who's married to a dude. The Rubin Report is the largest talk show about free speech on the internet, unless you're, criticizing grabblers or gay marriage. Then the free speech is not. So free speech if you want to talk about expanding the global homo empire. Then the speech is free, suck, jerk, pump, says Dave Rubin. But if you want to criticize anything real at all, that free speech becomes very stifled. I have way more in common with a devout, authentic Muslim than I do a materialist Satanist like Joe Rogan. When I did Joe Rogan 3 times, a lot of these Christians gave me no flack. They're like, oh, no way. It's great to see you on one of the biggest podcasts in the world. He is a Satanist. But yet if I do the Dean show, fortunately the Bears are cool as hell. So they're just like, they get it. But some of the Bears reacted horribly when I first was like, oh, of course I'll talk to a Muslim. They're like, how dare you? How dare you? How triple dog dare you? Dan Crenshaw, protect me. Dan Crenshaw, I'm like, dude, where were you when I did Rogan? Rogan believes in Satan. You know, there's much more in common with a God-fearing Muslim than there is a materialist Satanist. And that just reveals more about you than it does me. When I said anybody that Shapiro hates that much must have something good to them. Because that's originally why I started, well, that and one of my buddies who's Muslim. But I started not hating Muslims because Ben Shapiro hates them so much. I knew that there must be something there that wasn't awful. And people are like, yeah, but Muslims kill Christians. I'm like, Google the Iraq War. Like, how can people be that blind? Like, that blind? Where they don't think that Americans have killed millions of women and children, Muslims. Millions. It's not because they're Muslim. It's not because we're Christian. It's because of debt. It's because of usury. Religion does not cause war. My very close friend and partner in crime, Vox Day, even though he probably would be like, there is no we, Kimo Sabe, because he's he's on the social hierarchy. He doesn't like hierarchies and all that. I get it. Everyone gets it. But he disproved that religion causes war. 97% of all wars caused by non-religious reasons. So if a Muslim and you, a Christian, have much more in common when it comes to fighting war than you and a banker. Only 6.92%. Yeah, and that's even including the Muslim wars of conquest. Because after Muhammad, peace be upon him, died, they just went fucking apeshit and just started, just killing everybody. That wasn't ideal, guys. Fellas, not ideal. But here's how retarded I used to be about Muslims. We used to put towels on the heads of targets. We'd go target shooting and shoot muzzies, literally. Not real muzzies, but we'd put towels on their heads. And then someone pointed out, that was in when we thought that Muslims did 9/11 because they're Muslims, and then all these terror attacks and all this nonsense in the media. I bought into it. Let's be honest, they started grabbling for a few centuries. Yeah, the Muslims have done some very horrible things, obviously. But when you look at Muslims and Christians and even grabblers hanging out, if you don't have... Oh, no, I got to finish the story. So we'd put towels on the heads of targets. We're, just throwing lead at what we consider muzzies. And someone pointed out it's like, what do you guys have against Sikhs? And we're like, what? The towel head thing is Sikhs. Sikhs. They're not even the same thing at all. Like, that's the level of ignorance that I was a part of for a bit. Like, I had totally bought the whole lie that muzzies were like, in this death cult and they wanted nothing more than to overthrow America and all this stuff. And I was like, we were putting support Islam, no way, unsubbed. Hey, no problem. Just to make sure you're good, I just banned you as well. So, just to make sure that you don't have any second thoughts. My point is so valid, it's laughable. So anyway, we're shooting at what they're dressed as Sikhs. Like, dude, Muslims don't even wear towel heads. Sikh heating missiles, hilarious. We've all been there. Yeah, we've all been there, guys. And I'm not saying that you should become Muslim or anything. No, I think that there's some theological problems with Islam. One being original sin. I don't want to get into it. I don't care. It's not my thing. But, what was my point? The wars, like let's say Yugoslavia, for example, where you have Muslim against Christian against all this, that was completely NWO banking shit. Completely. Like, obviously. Look at Neo-Palestine there, Israel over there. Muslims, Jews, and Christians lived peacefully there for hundreds and hundreds of years. Look at it now. What do you think is causing it? Do you think it's religious doctrine? Do you think it's whether or not people believe in the Holy Ghost? Of course not. It's about debt. It's about forcing people to live a way that you don't want to live. That's what causes these wars. And the more debt we get, the more restrictions we get, the more our race and our religion will be what defines you. And it's not what should be, but it is what is. In prison, your skin color is what defines you, your race. Your religion will, Sunnis and Shia will fight to the death. They're both Muslim. Why? They both believe Muhammad, peace be upon him, all that stuff. They read the Quran, blah, blah. Look at Northern Ireland back in the day. Catholic, Protestant. Was it caused by Catholics and Protestants? Was it caused by how you felt about Henry VIII and Martin Luther? Calling out sales of indulgences with his blog post, 95 Theses. Do you think that causes a man to kill a woman? Of course not. It's about supply chain, resources, debt. That's the shit that causes war. Grabbler wars! Grab wars. That's why it's not... Grabbler is different than Jews. And it's like... A grabbler is like... There's an element to it that you have to understand. There's a real evil to the grabbler. Why do you care about the land ownership of a cardinal in another country? You don't. You know, they're breathing these spells into you, and you're becoming the militia of different grabbler groups. The difference between, like, in a low debt society, a no debt society, a society where you're not being controlled by debt and banks and all that stuff, whether or not someone uses a rosary or, stuff like you have a right to pray how you pray. Your church is what you are. The history is what it is. But those little differences do not make you kill each other at all. That's manufactured. It's absolutely manufactured. The bigger difference is between the materialist atheist and everyone else. The atheist sodomite and everyone, like that's so different. That's a fundamentally different way of viewing the world. That you are in control of what's true and false. That's fundamentally different. The age of enlightenment, that's Illuminati, enlightened. I think a lot of these people were responsible for the plague. But see, that was a major moment in my life where I realized that we had dressed people up to look like Muslims and we were shooting them in the woods. And we're so ignorant and retarded that we made them look like Sikhs, they're out of India and it has nothing to do with anything. And at that moment, you have two roads. You either double down like an SJW retard and just say, no, that means the Sikhs must be shit too. Or you just say, what's wrong with us? Like, why are we doing this? Our society would crumble without debt. We are a consumer-based society No, our society would not crumble without debt. That's insane. How do you know so little about economics, but yet you speak on it? It's just, I know a decent amount about the Bible, and I feel retarded when I talk to people about it. That's why I try not to answer questions about it, because I don't want to be so ridiculously wrong. Someone who says our society would crumble without debt knows nothing. Our society is crumbling because of debt. America did not have any debt, really, of any substance until after World War II. And in the 50s, very minimal. You didn't even notice it. Now the debt is crippling. And you think that we need debt to survive? You are wrong, sir. I know. I should write a whole book about it, about just a series of interesting accidents, why certain doors were open to me without having to do anything horrible or lose my soul. And just being pretty oblivious to a lot of the beast. I wanted to write a movie once about how a guy accidentally becomes a 33-degree Mason. Just by accidentally doing shit and people being like, oh. Because that's the problem with secret societies is if you speak in code and in symbol, it's almost like a guy who's wearing like a white t-shirt and blue jeans when that's like, when all the cruising homos thought that meant that you're a homo. And he's like, wow, everyone's being so nice to me. And everyone's like, oh, he's wearing the white shirt and blue jeans after 10 p.m. And it's like, wow, all these homos are being so good to me. Oh, man. I think part of it was my genuine friendships with some homos. That I think people thought that it either meant that I was cool, like I was a homo, or that I was like pushing an agenda. And it's kind of like how I am currently with Muslims, where I'm like, no, I just like these guys. Like, these are good guys, more crazy than Muslims, though. Muslims are obviously closer to my way of viewing the world than homos. But back then, I don't know. I got to write a whole book about some of the funniest instances where I just would make the right grabbler laugh by accident, just being genuine. And then that grabbler would tell other grabblers about how I was a good guy. And then they would think I got like approved by grabblers. Like one time I remember I was renting a house with all my buddies and there was mezuzahs on the doors, which is what, religious Jews have on the doors. And a very famous Jewish guy had came over and he looked at the mezuzah and was like, nice. And I was like, oh yeah, that funny looking stick thing. Yeah, great. In my mind. And I literally think that there was a chance that people thought I was Jewish because I was renting a house with mezuzahs on it. It's just a series of hilarious instances. And because my name's Owen Benjamin Smith, and there's an Owen Smith, this giant black guy. And so I dropped my last name, and Benjamin sounds more Jewish. And so I think I just accidentally got approved by Grab Wars. It's so funny. Just wizardry ends horribly, guys. Horribly. If you become a wizard, you will... Because Satan takes his money back. Owen at the FBI watch list, more like the subscribe list. Yes, Marcella, crushing! See, of course there's female bears. It's one of the funniest things anyone said all day. Owen on the FBI list, more like the FBI subscribe list, crushing, Rogan's up. It's totally true, huh? No, I have very good reason to believe that there's been people that have been assigned to watch me and make sure that I'm not starting some sort of militia. And they've ended up becoming bears. Because they're like, this is undeniably funny. Because they're men. They're Americans. They're doing what they think is right. They have a job just like anybody. It's like, yeah, at the top, it's just like cops. It's like the chief of police is a political figure and probably has to the brass has got my balls, all that stuff. They're doing weird shit. But the average policeman is a man with a family who has to knock on meth heads' doors and serve warrants and shit. It's like those guys get it. They don't like Antifa. They're just not allowed to do anything because of the brass, the people above them. You have to understand that these armies require men. The number one problem warlords face is paying their warriors. Vox said that. It blew my mind. It's so true. You have to understand it's a job. They have to pay their warriors. It's like the warriors are just dudes. And it's like once people watch this stream enough and they see what it is, it's so hard to hate it. Because it's like what we're doing here is what men should have done throughout the entire baby boomer generation. Just said, all right, lace up the boots, give Caesar Caesar's, have a large family, give thanks to God, and do it. Be a bear. That isn't a threat to anybody. It's a threat to Satan, but Satan has to play by these sick rules. Satan makes you choose your own fate. It's Faust. Like, just look at the immigration problem in Europe. That was a classic Faustian deal. So the grab was at the top. The grab was at the top. And grab was such a better word to use than other words because it's just so true. So the grabbers at the top were presented a deal from Satan. It's like you need more people. You want cheap labor. You want more debt. You want more people that can take a part of your Ponzi scheme. Let's keep it going. You want cheap labor, people you control, low IQ people. Yeah. And those guys were like, oh, yeah, send them up. Give me all the Somalians. Yeah, open borders. Little. And then what they say to the people in Somalia and in, these war-torn countries, you know what they say? If you go to Germany and Sweden, all the women will want you. There's no rules like the Muzzies make you do down here. It's like, we'll give you PlayStations. You'll become rich. You'll be able to have sex with the women. Okay, so then they arrive, and it's bad news for everyone. Because they don't do a lot of work. They cause a lot of problems. They're just leeches on the welfare system. And guess what? They can get a lot of women if they rape them. It's like they are isolated in these little communities in weather that they hate. They don't want to work these jobs. They're too dumb to work a lot of the jobs. And so the devil just goes, ha 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 ha! You thought you could break the rules? Free money and house and wife. Exactly. People forget that the migrants are also tricked. Everybody's always saying, oh, these Mozzies, the migrants, blah, blah. It's a two-way trick. One of the reasons they're so rapey and stabby and angry is because they were promised something that they did not get. They got it litigiously. They got it they got it in a sick way where it's like, that's always how Faust works, is you get all the books in the world, but your glasses break. You get unlimited life, but a life sentence in prison. You get a Ferrari, but no gasoline, right? That's how Satan works. Satan is a disgusting comedian, like a bad comedian. So the migrant crisis, these migrants are not happy. They hate how Europeans throw their children to the wolves. They miss Islam. They miss it. The only people to oppose trans children in schools in England were Pakistanis. Just make fun of the magic dirt. That's the funniest way to make fun of these fake nationalists, where it's like, so when a Japanese guy comes to America, they just become American? It's like, I am so American. Be like, if I go to Japan, do I just become Japanese? It's just... It only works here. Here in Canada are the places where that seems to be the thing. No toe in Idaho. The FBI is necessary but unfair when they want to be. Yeah, I mean, you got to keep their power in check. I'm not a fan of state control of anything, by the way. Just to put that out there. But you have to understand, like, what these people are. A lot of them are men with families in logos that are operate. Dude, a lot of people in Afghanistan right now are American military that I would be friends with, have logos, they're good Christians, they have families, and they're currently guarding poppy fields. They're not Satan, they're part of something. And now they're starting to be like, what the hell is going on? I'm engaged in this is how real wisdom works. I'm currently, right now, engaged in something horrible that I don't know yet. That's pattern recognition. As my life is unfolded, everything that I was involved in that was bad, that I didn't know was bad, I didn't know. So why wouldn't logic tell me that I still am on some level? There's something right now that I'm endorsing, I'm engaged in, I live with, that I think is fine. And in 10 years, I'll be like, what was I thinking? That's the nature of life. You're never fully out. The definition of a warrior, according to the Great Law. And tell me this isn't... That's why this stuff transcends a lot of these, like, nonsense arguments. Like, so the Trinity and it's like, dude, this is the warrior. This is the same in Christianity, the same in Islam. This is the warrior. Listen. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion. Respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and bow to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and nothing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Wow. Mohawk Bear is making this big old bear a little emotional. The hero grabbler. I'll do one as the hero grabbler. So live your life only in fear of death. Slander everyone. Steal from everyone. Respect no one's view. Demand they respect yours. Hate your life. Make everything ugly. Seek to make your life full of sodomy. And don't serve anyone. That's the grabbler one. When it comes time to die, blame it on everyone but yourself. And hold on to your money. And then and then just burn your family. It's like, just think about how awful the grabbler warrior would be. Just disgusting people.